Welcome back to Inside Africa, this week from Liberia. An early morning start and a 3-hour drive took us north out of Monrovia and into the heart of Liberia's tourism country. That's right, tourism. These are the golden sand beaches of Robertsport. The crowds are still at the very least a few years away, but the surfing world has found a new secret hotspot. Before the day gets too hot and the tide gets too high, they trek down the beach to their secret spot. And by 9 a.m. a handful are in the water, a small group by most wave riders' standards, but here in a country known for its suffering, not its surfing, they are pioneers. How do you feel when you're out there on the waves?
I feel so happy. I feel like I'm in heaven when I'm surfing. No, I don't do nothing best like surfing. I feel so much happy.
Alfred Lomax is popularly known as Liberia's very first surfer. He started the sport 5 years ago, shortly after the end of Liberia's 14-year civil war, but left the country in ruin. And with the end of the war, Liberia's first surfing tourists are starting to arrive. Describe what it was like out there today.
It was rough and bumpy and fat waves, but the size was good. Yeah. So usually takeoff is fine, and then you have to manage to avoid the slow sections and avoid the big rock there.
Going off the beaten track for 6 months, these Swiss surfers have come to Liberia not just for the big waves, but to get away from the more popular and more crowded surfing spots in Indonesia and Australia.
We already talked with each other and said, oh, just breathe it in, suck it all up, and it will be not the same when you come back. But
you think the crowds will come here?
I hope not.
There's a good chance.
There's a good chance. I hope not.
The local surfers, though, hope their beaches will attract more tourists and more money. These young men and their community depend on fishing for survival. But Alfred says the sport could change all that.
My dream is I look at more all the sports in my country, which is Liberia now. And more all the sports, people play soccer, basketball, all the games and sport. And surfing is not part of that. So I decided I want to bring surfing in Liberia and make Liberia to be one of the biggest African surfing country in the world.
A new wave that Alfred hopes will only get bigger.
Many thanks to Christian for all of those reports out of Liberia this week. That's all the time that we have, but before we go, we want to hear from you. This year, 17 African nations are marking 50 years of independence. 8 countries celebrating that in August alone. To take part in CNN special coverage, log on to iReport.com/Africa50. Interview your friends, interview your family, the people who saw independence firsthand. Then send us their thoughts and your thoughts on your country's milestone and how you plan to celebrate. We may just share some of your responses right here on the air. Aisha Sase is back next week, but for now we leave you with more images from Christian's trip to Liberia. I'm Jim Clancy. Thanks for spending a part of your day with Inside Africa.